Dear students, second year, welcome back. Today I would like to discuss the factors affecting reliability and validity. So far we have discussed reliability, nature of reliability, methods of estimation of reliability, then validity, types of validity. As I told you the other day, reliability is a condition for validity. So, as reliability and validity are closely connected, the factors which affect reliability also do affect validity, and the vice versa. The factors of validity, the factors which affect validity also do affect reliability. That is why I thought it would be worthwhile to combine them and discuss and complete in one class. Because had I wanted to discuss separately, then it would have consumed more time, as well as some facts would have been repeated. That's why let us today discuss jointly what are the factors that affect the reliability and validity. In general, we can say there are three important factors which affect the reliability as well as the validity. What are the three factors? The first factor is test-related factors. Test-related factors. These test-related factors. Second is examinee-related factor. Third is administration-related factor. There are some factors that are related to the test, the questions, the test items. There may be some difficulty, some ambiguity, some items may be heterogeneous, there may be unclear directions. So there may be various factors relating to the test which influence the test reliability as well as the validity. Similarly, examinee related factors. There are some factors which are present with the students, the examinees, the students who are appearing at the examination. So the reliability gets affected and the validity also gets affected. It is because of the problems with the examinees. And thirdly, administration related factors. If the test is not properly conducted, administration means how it is conducted. It should be free from all types of malpractices. The administration conditions should be also congenial for test. The sitting arrangement, ventilation, this light and all other conditions should be similar in both tests in case of reliability. So how it is administered and also how it is scored, how the examiners they score, they must score accurately, there should not be subjectivity. So we will discuss all this in detail, but for your understanding there are some factors which are present in the test itself, and here there are some factors which are present with the examinees, the candidates, the students. And thirdly, if the administration, the test is not administered properly, if it is not scored properly, then there may be some errors which will affect the reliability and validity. So let us discuss one by one what are the test related factors. Specifically we will discuss each factor. Okay. So now let us begin with the test related factors. Under test related factors, the first one is the length of the test. The length of the test affects the reliability as well as the validity to a greater extent. There is a saying, the larger the test, the greater is its reliability. Shorter the test, lesser the test, lesser is its reliability. The test should include as many items as required. It should not be too short, it should not be too lengthy, but it should incorporate a good number of items to measure each component that is desired, that is intended. For validity, there are different content areas, there are different objectives of instruction. So your test must cover all the content areas, all the objectives of instruction. Your test should be the true representative of the content areas and the instructions, objectives. So, if it becomes too short, it cannot cover all areas. That's why the length of the test that relates to or that determines the reliability as well as validity. That is why the length should be as big, as large as possible to cover all our areas and all the areas of studies or content areas as well as the instructional objectives. Otherwise, it will lower the reliability. There will be, if it is so short, there will be guessing. There will be more guessing. There will be more chance factor. To reduce this, you have to make a test of reasonable size. The length is more important. Then the content of the test. Second one is content of the test. What is studied? If a test is prepared on the content areas, on the subject matters which are homogeneous in nature. You must know what is homogeneity. Its objective is heterogeneity. Homogeneous, similar nature of content areas. If you make questions, develop test items on homogeneous content, the reliability will increase. And if you develop a question on heterogeneous items, there is chances that the good students, they may be able to answer all your questions, but the poorer average type of learners, they cannot. That is why the content that should be homogeneous in nature. Homogeneous. If you make questions from related content, some content areas having related figures, facts, principles, so the students can understand those things better and they can do better in the examination. That is why the homogeneous content should be homogeneous as far as practicable. Then clarity of directions. This is also one of the important aspects, clarity. Sometimes many of the students, they do know the answer, but they are unable to answer it in the examination because of lack of clarity in directions. The test maker, he must give the directions in lucid manner, in clear-cut manner, so that the students will not get confused. Sometimes because of confusion, the students are unable to answer the questions even though they know the answer. That is why when you are making or developing a question, you should give clear-cut direction, what to do, what to answer, what not to answer, what is required in the question, what is not required. That must be clearly explained to the candidates, the examinees, so that they can perform better. Then spread of scores. It is a technical aspect. Spread of scores. When you are appearing at the test, if the test items are too easy, almost all students can answer. So there will be concentration of score. If it is a scale, supposing this is a scale, beginning from 0 to 100, and you will find there is greater concentration of scores at the last, at the end of the scale. And the higher end of the scale, you will find there is more concentration of scores because most students have secured good marks. If the questions are very difficult, then very few students will answer, and there will be concentration of scores at the lower end of the scale. But a good item is that which helps the students to secure marks in such a way, the marks will be spread all along the scale. In a group, students will secure different marks, spreading from lower end to the higher end. But there should not be concentration of score at one particular end. So that is a poor and defective item. That should be eliminated. Good ones will be selected, which will, the results will be spread through all along the scale. It will be spread from lower end to the higher end. There may be some concentration of scores at the middle if it is the data are normally distributed. Otherwise, it should be spread all along the scale. Then item characteristics. Items, the questions. If the questions are defective, then because of the defective nature of the questions, students will score lower marks or even higher marks. So the reliability, the validity of the test items will be affected if poor items are there, poor questions are there. So under these item characteristics, let us discuss some sub points. How the item characteristics they determine and affect the reliability and validity. What are the various aspects of good items? Let us discuss one by one. When there are some defects, problems with the items, it affects reliability as well as validity. What are the defects with the items? One is complicated vocabulary and sentence structure. Complicated vocabulary. Sometimes some examiners they do use some difficult language which the students can comprehend, which are not common with the students. So to show their own intelligence, knowledge, sometimes the examiners they ask some difficult questions. They use some hard language, some higher type of vocabulary, and they make difficult structures. They make some complex sentence. So students are unable to understand things. When you do not understand properly, how can you answer? So your marks will be affected. In case of reliability, if you go for second administration, if you understand something. In first administration, you understand something. So you appear at the examinations and you score different marks at different times because of the difficult nature of vocabulary used in the test. So that is why the language should be very received, very simple, so that all students, slow learners, average type of learners, above average, good learners, all can understand properly. That is why one should not, the test maker should not use difficult vocabularies. Rather, he should write some simple sentence which can be comprehended by the students properly. The second one is inappropriate difficulty level. Sometimes some test makers they make questions very difficult. They ask some difficult complex questions. So only the good learners, the gifted children, meritorious students, so they can answer. Majority of the students will fail to answer if the questions are very difficult. So that is why the questions should not be too difficult. And sometimes questions also become very easy. When you appear at the test, you say, oh, today I have answered all the questions because the questions were very easy for me. So when the questions are very easy, almost all students can answer. So there will be higher concentration of scores at the higher end of the scale. If it is too difficult, very few students will answer. There will be concentration of score at the lower end. That is why the items, the questions should be of reasonable difficulty. 50% of difficulty value. It should have 50% of difficulty value. So that at least 50% students can answer, 50% students cannot answer. That will be a good item. Because in norm reference testing, we have two types of evaluation. Under types of evaluation, you might have studied criterion reference evaluation and norm reference evaluation. In norm reference evaluation, we want to know the relative standing of students. The relative standing of students in a particular group. That is why, if the questions are very easy, you cannot discriminate. If the questions are very difficult, you cannot discriminate. So, questions must be of moderate difficulty value so that majority of the students can answer that question. Then the third one is poorly constructed test items. sometimes the items are very poorly constructed. Particularly in objective type of test, sometimes the test maker gives some clues. So if you are very intelligent, you will apply your intelligence without knowing the answer, without studying the text or without knowing the answer. Even looking at the test, because of experience and some clues are there, you will answer those questions. So such type of questions having some clues should be avoided. Questions should be such that those who will answer, they must have studied the content. That should not be guessing, bluffing. One has to thoroughly read the text. After reading the text, one will answer the question. So we have to avoid clues. Then ambiguous statements. There should not be any ambiguity in the questions. As I told here, that questions should be very simple. The language should be simple. It must communicate. The students must be able to understand what is communicated, what is there. And if it is ambiguous, because of ambiguity, the students will fail to answer the questions. For example, you are asking the question, write an essay on the shape of the desert. So naturally the students of class 6 students, they will not understand what is what, or what is the shape of the desert, unless they know that camel. If you write some 5 sentences, 10 sentences on camel, so all students will answer. But if you say write 10 sentences on the shape of the desert, many students will not answer because they don't understand. That is why such ambiguous statements must be avoided. Even in the intermediate classes in graduation, sometimes I have asked this question to students. Students, they get confused. How does the President of India come to his office? When I ask this question, students, they are confused. How does he come to his office? They may refer to the type of mode of conveyance, by some car or by any other means. How does the President come to his office? But actually the question intends to get the knowledge from the students, that whether the students are aware of the election procedure of Indian President. So instead of asking you directly, write the election procedure of Indian President, he has asked you a question, how does the President of India come to his office? He will come to his office only when he is elected. So discuss the election procedure. Instead of asking that, the test maker has made you confused. That is why such type of language should not be used. It should be free from any ambiguity. Very clear, straightforward questions should be there so that all students can answer. Then inappropriate test items. Sometimes some test makers, some teachers, if they are asked to give some questions for test examination, for pre-test examination, for midterm examination, they will give some questions just from here and there. They will think of and just give. They do not think so seriously, but they give questions. So in those cases, what happens? In this inappropriate test items, the items should seek to measure different content areas and the objectives of instruction. When you are conducting a test or administering a test, it must serve your purpose. If the test items that you have framed in a hurry without looking at all these things, then it lacks validity, particularly content validity. It lacks content validity because the test doesn't serve the purpose. That is why such inappropriate items should be discarded. When you are framing the items, preparing the items, you should see what purpose will it serve, keeping in account the type of purpose, keeping in account the purpose of the test. You have to construct the test items so that it will serve the desired intended purpose and its validity will be ensured. But sometimes we make questions just in a haphazard manner without thinking of the purpose without thinking of representativeness, without thinking of all content areas, all instructional objectives. Just we do some questions and the students are asked to answer. So such questions should be avoided. Then improper arrangement of items, particularly in objective type of questions. Sometimes the test maker gives a fixed alternative as the desired response. A, B, C, D. There are 4 options, and the child has to put a tick mark against the right option. So in question number 1, A is the right answer. In question number B, A is the right answer. In question number C, A is the right answer. So the child will predict that perhaps in all cases A is the right answer. So without knowing the reply or answer, what he will do? He will put tick mark against all A items. So this is a very, very poor item. Such items should be discarded. That is improper arrangement and identifiable pattern. These are two related. Improper arrangement of items. Here what happens? In case of improper arrangement, the easy items must be placed first, then the difficult ones. If in the beginning you find some difficult items, then you get confused. Subsequently, you cannot answer all other questions even though you know the answer, because from the beginning you get confused. You become mentally harassed because the question was so difficult you could not answer. Many of you have this experience in mathematics. If the question 1, 2, they are very difficult, you devoted more time for that. Then towards the end you are unable to answer all other questions even though you know the answer. That is why always we advise students, you please answer the easy questions first, then make attempt of the difficult questions. Don't try difficult questions first. So it is also the same thing applicable to the test maker. When the test makers, they are preparing questions, they should place the easy items first and then the difficult ones. In order of difficulty, the questions should be arranged. That is improper arrangement and identifiable pattern, as I told you, that there should not be fixed response. If in question 1 A is correct, then in question 2 C or D, you just make some variations, changes. That is, these are the different aspects which must be taken into account. Then the 8th one is functioning content and teaching procedure. Functioning content. When for paper setting, your syllabus, courses of study is sent to the examiners from different universities, from different colleges. We get their courses of study. We are asked to prepare the question. So we see the course of study. What are the areas? Then we develop questions on that. When these questions are asked to the students are unable to answer. Sometimes what happens? Those are not covered by their respective teachers. Those things are not discussed by the teachers. On that same area, the teachers have discussed something else. But question is asked because the headline is this. When, supposing teacher education, under teacher education so many things are there. So the paper setter, he will make question, discuss the teacher education system in the state of Odisha. But you have not been taught with that. So what will happen? You cannot answer. So functioning content, the content is there, but while transacting the content in the class, how much the teacher has covered, that is important. Supposing he has only given you some information, nothing about understanding why it happens, how it happens. So understanding, application, critical thinking, all these things you do not know. Simply has given you some information you have remembered. If he has completed all these things, then the questions will be of knowledge type only. When was India free? Or who has built Taj Mahal? When was Taj Mahal built? But if he has not covered up these things, why it was done? How it was done? So you cannot ask understanding type questions. You cannot ask application type questions. So if those things have been covered up in the class, then you should ask. So what happens? Sometimes our students, they face difficulty because the paper setter has given some questions which have not been dealt with by the respective teachers in their colleges or in schools. So this is the difficulty. That is why what has been transacted in the class, accordingly the questions should be said, so that students should be comfortable and they can answer all questions. Okay, so these are some of the test related factors. Now we will move to the examinee related factors. Students or candidates who are appearing at the examination, they are having some problems. If some problems lie with them, it will affect reliability as well as validity. So let us discuss the examinee related factors. So now come to the second aspect, that is examinee related factors. What are the factors that relate to the candidates, the students, the examinees who are appearing at the test, appearing at the examination? The first one is group heterogeneity. Homogeneous, I told you, if the questions are asked from homogeneous content areas, reliability will increase. But here the opposite is heterogeneous. The group should be heterogeneous. If identical students of same ability, if they form a group, you will find the scores will not spread all along the scale, because one type of students are there. So either they may be of low mental caliber, or they may be of higher mental caliber. So if they belong to higher mental caliber, so naturally they will score higher marks. They will concentrate at the higher end. And if the poor students are there, they will secure less mark. There will be concentration at the lower end of the scale. It will not spread. Our purpose is it should spread all along the scale. Different types of learners, candidates should be there, so that different marks will come. Some will secure good marks, highest marks, higher rate of marks. Some will secure average type of marks. Some will secure below average marks. So we can differentiate between the good learners and the poor learners, which the norm reference testing seeks to find out who are the good ones, who are the poor ones. So that is why when you are taking some students from a population, from a larger group, you have to take them randomly, because here when you take from a larger group, there are chances that all types of students will be included in your sample. In random, as you know, random selection, in random sampling, what happens? Each and every student has got equal chance of being selected. So here all students will be selected from a larger group, and therefore that group will be heterogeneous. It will be heterogeneous. One type of students, they will not be included in the group. So various types of students having different mental range. You know, IQ, some are having 120, they are gifted, more than 120, 140, genius, 100 to 110, above average, 100 to 90, they are below average, 90 to 80, they are slow learners. So in a class, there are various categories of learners. And your group should be heterogeneous. You should include all types of students in your group. And if one type of group, one particular mental trait, or having one type of caliber, if they are poor ones, it is one type. If they are all high group learners, it is one type. So we have to distribute the students. That is a heterogeneous, various types of students of different mental ability, they are included in your group. That will add to your reliability as well as validity. Then student background experience. Sometimes some students are more experienced. They have some background. Before admission in a new course, they have some background. They have some experience. So, when some questions are asked in such a manner, they answer the questions not because of their knowledge. They have studied. They have not gone through the books. They don't know the content, but they are able to answer the question. It is because of their background experience. Suppose you are all education students. Tomorrow you take admission in B.Ed. Education, whatever syllabus is there, it is related to your B.Ed curriculum. So, without even reading the B.Ed text, what is there, you have your own experience, past knowledge. You have studied your graduation thoroughly. So, you know certain things. With that, you can manage to answer the questions. That's your background. Some students, they have completed CT. After completion of CT course, they have taken admission in graduation. So what happens? They have some background experience, knowledge. With that, they can answer the present questions. That is why we should avoid such questions. We should give such type of questions which are very much content specific. Without studying, you cannot answer those questions by bluffing, by guessing, or by your own past experience. So questions should be such. Then the third one, that is student motivation. It is also one of the important factors which affect the reliability as well as the validity, because the students, due to lack of motivation, sometimes when they are demotivated, they are not interested to take up the test, they will not give their 100%. They can achieve less than what they deserve to achieve. Actually, what is their exact depth of knowledge, extent of achievement, our test will fail to measure that, because the students are not properly motivated. There are certain mental conditions too, which I have already discussed. There may be some mental boredom, mental fatigue, they may be physically exhausted, they may have some kind of diseases. So in the second text, if their mental condition is not okay, if their physical condition is not okay, they are suffering, so they will fail to deliver the 100%. As a result, they may secure less mark and the reliability will be affected. So these are three important aspects which relate to the examinee or candidates. These affect the reliability as well as validity. Now we will switch over to the third one, that is administration related factors. When the test is administered, during the process of administration, there are some factors, some errors which need to be avoided, otherwise they will influence reliability and validity to a greater extent. So what are those factors relating to the administration of a test? Let us discuss one by one. So now let us come to the third aspect, that is administration related factors. When the test is administered, supposing to ascertain reliability, when the test is administered once, after an interval, the second test, the same test is administered twice, both the conditions of administration should be identical. The lighting facility, ventilation, sitting arrangement, light, fan, furniture, everything, the physical conditions, that will be identical in both the tests. Sometimes when you are appearing at the examination, if lighting condition is bad, there is no ventilation, there is no air, you will feel uncomfortable, and because of that you may score less mark. You know answers, but because the condition is not comfortable for you, it's very hot condition, and lighting facility is not there, fan is also not there. So because while administering the test, such facilities should be provided. If such facilities are not there, naturally this will adversely affect your performance. You will score less when a single test is administered. And when the second test is administered, when the test is administered twice, second time, the conditions should be identical. In first examination, that was conducted early in the morning. So you are quite fresh, ventilation, air, very soothing, comfortable. There is no hot, nothing. So you appeared at the examination very comfortably. But the second test is conducted under this scorching sun, very heat, humidity, and lighting facility or fan, electricity that goes out. In first sitting, electricity was there. In the second sitting, electricity is not there. So you will find that it is not comfortable for you. So you will try to finish the test as early as possible. You will secure less mark. That is why when the test is administered, it should be administered in such conditions which are comfortable for the child. And when the second test is administered, the conditions of the first test should be identical with that of the second test. So this is under physical and psychological conditions. Then second one, cheating opportunities. In examination, we have appointed invigilators. The invigilators, they invigilate. While you are taking up the text, they invigilate. But what happens somewhere, in some places, the students adopt malpractices. That cheating opportunities are there. You talk to your friends. You share cheats. You discuss among yourself. So the test is not administered as per the norms of examination. It should be free from all these things. There cannot be malpractice. You cannot share cheats. You cannot discuss. You cannot talk. The norms of examinations have been codified, have been well spelled. And violation, infringement of those rules, that will lead to some punishment, legal punishment. But sometimes this so happens in some places there are the cheating opportunities. The students, they secure more marks because of cheating opportunities provided to them. The squad members, the flying squad, they used to visit some places where communication system is there. So they check such type of malpractices. But what happens in the remote areas where it is not accessible? Their students do adopt malpractices. So here what happens in reliability assessment, when one test is administered and after some interval second test is administered, there should not be any cheating opportunity either in the first test or in the second test. It should be free from all types of cheating. Students should write answers of their own without getting any kind of help from any quarters. That should be. Then the third one is inaccurate scorers. You have answered your questions perfectly. You expect some more marks, but it so happens that in many of your examinations you must have got less marks. Or sometimes you may be expecting some less mark, but when result comes out, you will see that you have been awarded more marks than what you had ever expected. So it happens because of inaccurate scorer. The examiners, the scorers, the examiners, when they examine your papers without going through the scoring key, without having any objectivity, if they answer your evaluation papers, naturally different students will score different marks. Good students will also score less marks. That is negative discrimination. So mostly the question should be objective, it should be free from subjectivity, essay type of question should be less, and there should be a scoring key. All examiners must see scoring key and award marks according to the scoring key. So if the objectivity is ensured, then naturally there will be more accuracy in scoring. So due to inaccurate scorers, the reliability as well as the validity, they get infected, they get disturbed, affected. So that is one of the important aspects. Then the last one is unsuitable method of reliability estimation. Sometimes our purpose is different. We want to know the the reliability coefficient of consistency, internal consistency. You want to know internal consistency. So for that you have to take the split up method, the Kudar-Richardson method, KR21. But instead of taking that split up method or Kudar-Richardson method, if you take method of equivalence or test-retest method, then the reliability coefficient will be affected, because that will not serve your purpose. If you want to know the reliability coefficient of stability, then you take test-retest method. If you want to assess the reliability coefficient of equivalence, then you take equivalent form method or parallel form method or alternative form method. So according to your purpose, you select a method. If you do not select the right type of method, keeping in view your purpose, then reliability will be affected, validity will be affected. So in a nutshell, these are the factors affecting reliability and validity. So in my next class, we will discuss two other important characteristics of a good test. One is objectivity, the other one is usability. So till then, I wish you all a happy day, happy preparation, and stay safe and enjoy your days and prepare as far as practicable. Go through the books, otherwise listen to my talk again and again. You can understand things. Thank you very much.